your history. I am Princess Norima and Casidar, a second-year student from the Bachelor of Elementary Education.
And I am Casidar&Amerol, a first-year student from the Bachelor of Elementary Education. As part of our study and major requirement in our CPE104, with the description title of Facilitating Learner-Centered Teaching and Learning.
We've been conducting an interview to students from my different colleges with the topic of understanding individual differences. So, let's start. Assalamualaikum and good morning. Can you tell me what is your name, your grade level, and your course?
Waalaikumsalam. I am Hani Ayaun. I am second year taking Bachelor of Elementary Education.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Ayaon. So here's your first question. Do you learn better by reading, listening, or doing things? Tell me about a time you learned something new and how did you learn it best?
I learn best when I read. I'm more on visuals ako and symbols. Usually kapag talagang I learn best when I write, kapag may narinig ako, nakikita ako, kapag naisulat ko yun, at talagang mariretain mo sa utak ko. Kaya listening doesn't work for me. Kapag nakikinig lang ako na it doesn't work. Wala akong nare-remember na information or anything.
Sige na ako, Sis.
Assalamualaikum. What's your name po?
My name is Rayhana Latif.
So, I'll be asking you 5 questions. The first one is, do you learn better by reading, listening, or doing things? And tell me about a time you learned something new. And how did you learn this best?
Well, it depends on my mood because sometimes when I'm studying, it's more effective when I read it aloud. So the sound I hear get deep inside my head and I can remember it correctly. But as I said, it depends on my mood, and when that strategy didn't work, I tried to study silently, reading silently. So when I study silently, the surrounding also must be silent, and that strategy is also working.
So here's the question for you. First question. Do you learn better by reading, listening, or doing things? Tell me about a time you learned something new and how did you learn it best?
So, for me, the most effective na mas madali akong matuto is by reading and listening to others kasi there are some contexts or instances na nahihirapan akong i-comprehend yung discussion ng mga teachers ko. So, nag-self-review na lang ako by like seeking some information sa mga classmates ko, if may mga naintindihan ba sila, may mga questions ako na if may mga concept na hindi ko maintindihan is tinatanong ko sa mga classmates ko. And kung minsan tinatamad din akong tanungin sila is manonood na lang ako sa YouTube or magbabasa ng some articles or books.
What's your name and your college?
Hello, I'm Hapsa Angni and I'm from College of Public Affairs.
So, I have 5 questions for you. First is, do you learn better by reading, listening, or doing things? And tell me about a time you learned something new. And how did you learn it best?
I prefer learning through reading because I'm such a reader, especially books or fictional books. So the time that I have learned something, okay, what is your question?
Tell me about a time you learned something new. And how did you learn it best?
The time that I have learned something new is yun nga, through reading. I have learned a lot, especially when I'm reading fictional books.
Okay.
So good day and assalamualaikum. Can you tell me about yourself?
Okay, so assalamualaikum and good day. I am Masina Casidar, a 4th year student from the College of Business Administration and Accountancy.
My current concentration is marketing management, specialized in advertising.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Asmina. So this is your first question. Do you learn better by reading, listening, or doing things? Tell me about a time you learned something new and how did you learn it best?
Okay, so with regard to that question, I think it depends. But since most of the time I spend my time surfing on the internet, kaya masasabi kong mas marami akong natututunan sa mga napapanood ko or kaya nababasa ko sa social media. Pero at the same time, whenever I'm attending something like mga seminar, is natututo rin ako sa, for example, sinasabi ng mga speaker. And currently, like what I've learned recently is yung about sa Comelec.
Yes.
And I think recently may nag-viral na video sa Showtime which is yung babae is tinanong siya regarding sa Comelec and hindi siya like ganun ka knowledgeable regarding sa Comelec. So, recently lang din, nakita ko yung post ng Mindanao Varsitarian regarding sa Comelec. And because of that, I've learned na ang purpose pala ng Comelec is sila yung nag-i-ensure na maayos yung process ng election, like walang mangyayaring pandaraya during the election.
Okay, so in short, mas nakaka-influence with social media.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum. What's your name under college?
Waalaikumsalam. I am Sophia M. Kalumban, a first-year student from the College of Business Administration and Accountancy.
Okay, I have 5 questions for you. The first one is, do you learn better by reading, listening, or doing things? And tell me about a time you learned something new and how did you learn it best?
I actually learn best by doing things. Kasi na, I think it's more effective when you apply what you have learned right away since it provides you a more detailed and hands-on experience. And as someone kasi who struggles with focusing, I think, as someone who struggles with focusing, I think, application-based learning, ginagawa na ko eh. It works better for me talaga and it allows me to understand things fully or in a more practical way. And ano yung isa, yung question, yung sumpat niya?
And how did you learn it best?
Hindi, yung pangalawa.
Tell me about you.
Learning how to edit. I found out kasi na like reading or watching tutorials on YouTube was not enough. So, it should have more, like parang gusto kong ma-experience siya hands-on. So, ang ginawa ko is like, I have to open the software or the editing app itself to apply what I have learned and also to ano nga yun? Ano yung English nun po takte? Ba't di ko matandaan? Basta yun na yun. So, kasi this kind of process helped me retain the information well and para na rin ma-improve yung skills ko over time.
Morning, can you tell me about yourself?
Good morning too. So I am Raisa Dumadu Musa. I am from Filipino department and first year student.
So here's the question for you. Do you learn better by reading, listening, or doing things? Tell me about a time when you learned something new and how did you learn it best?
So as I reflect on myself, I prefer anytime, like through reading books, reading and listening to any social platform, just like TikTok, by reading like just motivation quotes.
What's your name under college?
My name is Yasmin Bukoy from the College of Public Affairs.
So I have 5 questions for you. First is, do you learn better by reading, listening, or doing things? And tell me about a time you learned something new and how did you learn it best?
So for me, I think the way how I would learn the best is reading because through we through reading, if I can't understand the words properly, I could just read it again. So like the time where I actually learn things is actually when I'm studying right now, like those lessons and all, I understand them better through reading. Okay.
Second question, are you usually outgoing and talkative or more quiet and reserved? How does that affect and how you work with others?
I am usually talkative when I'm those people I am comfortable with. Sabi nga ng sister ko, chatterbox ako kapag nasa tao na close ko. Then, kapag naman sa those people I am not comfortable with, I am not close with, I am reserved. Ang effect nito kapag I am with those people na hindi ko close na usually just go with the flow lang ako. Kung ano gusto nila, yun yung susundin ko. Wala akong initiative.
Okay, so second question is, are you usually outgoing and talkative or more quiet and reserved? How does that affect how you work with others?
Usually, I'm a quiet person. No, una. That strategy na quiet ako is nahihiya ko makipag-associate sa mga kagrupo ko. Yung itatanong ko lang is nahihiya ko. So, naisip ko na ang strategy na yun is hindi magandaan, hindi ka makaka-cooperate sa mga kasama mo. So, ngayon, yung hiya na yun is tinapon ko na kapag may mga activity na may groupings, nakikipag-cooperate ako, like mag-ask ako, ano ang gagawin natin, ano ang mga idea nyo, para naman maisip ko kung ano ba ang may tutulong ko sa kanila.
Okay, thank you.
Second question, are you usually outgoing and talkative or more quiet and reserved? How does that affect and how you work with others?
So I'm more quiet and reserved, an introvert person. So although I'm an introvert person, is kaya ko naman makipagsabayan sa iba. I can share some ideas or knowledge sa mga kagrupo ko. But sometimes it is hard na maging introvert kasi more on tahimik talaga sila. Minsan depende lang sa mood kung kailan nila gustong makipag-usap sa mga ka-groupmates nila.
Second question is, are you usually outgoing and talkative or more quiet and reserved? And how does that affect how you work with others?
I think I would label myself as not really outgoing hindi pala. It depends on the person that I am with. Minsan outgoing ako, minsan talkative, minsan naman hindi, minsan rin, oo.
Here's your second question. Are you usually outgoing and talkative or more quiet and reserved? How does that affect and how you work with others?
Back then, I am very social. Kung mahilig ako makipag-socialize sa ibang tao, I am very outgoing. But then, during the pandemic, it affect how I interact with other people. Because of the pandemic, I got isolated. So, because of that, naapektuhan yung pakikipag-socialize ko sa ibang tao. Kaya, parang hindi ako naging madaldal. Nabawasan yung pagiging madaldal ko. Hindi na ako gano'n kahilig makihangout sa ibang tao or makipag-socialize. Minsan, I prefer being with myself.
Okay, so in short, parang introvert ka sa di ba ni kung sino nakakasalamuha mo?
Yes.
Second one is, are you usually outgoing and talkative or more quiet and reserved? And how does that affect how you work with others?
It depends actually on how I see the person or the kind of connection we have. Especially if we have just met, then syempre, I tend to be more quiet and reserved. Lalo na if I'm not comfortable with you or with someone. But it also depends on my mood or kung gaano kataas yung energy boost ko. And also, I think that affects how I work on others kasi I adjust based on my environment. Tapos, yun nga, based on my environments, like, if I'm comfortable with you, then I actively contribute or engage with you a lot. But if I am not, then I prefer to distance myself and work on my...
Number two, are you usually outgoing and talkative or more quiet and reserved? How does that affect and how you work with others?
As an ambivert person na minsan talkative ako and minsan silent person. But more time, I'm self-reliant person. So, kumbaga, depende sa taong nabimit ko. Kumbaga, if, and also depende rin sa mood ko. So, more time na silent na person talaga.
Second question is, are you usually outgoing and talkative or more quiet and reserved? And how does that affect how you work with others?
So actually, my like let's say mood depends on whom I'm with. So I'm quite talkative to those who I am close, and like quiet and reserved to those I don't usually talk out more often. And it affects how I work because like yun nga nasabi ko na hindi ako like tahimik ako sa mga hindi ko kakilala. So whenever there's an activity or such in the classroom, hindi ako nakakapag-communicate sa kanila ng maayos kasi nga yun nahihiya ako.
Okay, thank you.
Number three, what are some of your favorite traditions or costumes? How do these things influence to you and how you see the world?
Pinaka-favorite ko na tradition namin is yung when we visit someone or relatives na we make sure na we have to bring something, specifically food. Lalo-lalo na kapag may special events such as yung relatives namin na kapapanganak lang or may sakit, nagkakasakit, na kapag pupunta kami sa kanila, na we make sure na may dala kami food. And nowadays, karami learn na ay parang gusto ko dahil bakit? Dahil we don't want to inconvenience others. Kasi may experience ako na biglang may dumating sa bahay. Walang tao sa bahay, ako lang. Anong ipapakain ko sa kanila? Na then ko na-realize na, we really have to bring something when we visit someone para so we won't inconvenience them.
The third question is, what are some of your favorite traditions or customs? And how do these things influence you, how you see the world?
My favorite costumes is itong abaya and this niqab because itong suot ko serve as a modesty and mapaprotektahan kanya nito ng sa masasama at importantly sa faith na. And how can I see the world that? So, kapag may nakikita akong nagsusuot ng ganitong suot ko is like para silang hindi sa nagpupanaw na like in other girls na nakikita yung mga buhok nila is kapag naglalakad sila sa mga lalaki is hindi nila ito respect. So kapag suot mo to is feel mo is safe ka and mapoprotektahan kanya.
What are some of your favorite traditions or costume? How do these things influence to you and how you see the world?
So for me, praying kasi this is very important for us kasi na by praying, it means na you appreciate, you are thankful and na-appreciate mo kung ano yung mga blessings na binibigay sa'yo ng Allah. And as well as through praying is na dyan mo din by praying is dyan ka din nag-seek ng help to Allah.
Thank you. The third question is, what are some of your favorite traditions or customs, and how do these things influence how you see the world?
I think my favorite costume or tradition, especially in Maranao, since I'm a Maranao, is that wearing hijab.
Okay.
I see it as I think I see it as a respect from the woman, especially na nasa loob ng Maranao culture. Kasi if someone sees, I mean, woman wearing hijab is ang maiisip talaga nila is to respect them since we are conservative.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so here's your third question. What are some of your favorite traditions or costumes? How do these things influence you and how you see the world?
Okay, so, I'm sure maraming magandang tradition sa Philippines, and I think one of my favorite Filipino cultures is yung pagiging magalang. Like, kumbaga young people are, kumbaga as much as possible na yung mga kabataan is dapat kapag nakikipag-usap sila sa mas nakakatanda sila, they should always say po or opo as a form of respect. And ganun din sa culture nating Maranao, which is, yun din, yung pagiging respectful sa mga matatanda. Like, pag may nakaupo sa harap mo na matanda, bawal kang dumaan sa harap niya. Need mong sa tabi, ganun. Kasi, it can be considered as a form of disrespect pag dinadaan-daanan mo na.
The third question is, what are some of your favorite traditions or costumes, and how do these things influence how you see the world?
Wait lang, traditions and costumes. Well, actually, simple lang. Well, one thing I love na rin kasi being a Filipino is yung how they welcoming their visitors, diba? Kasi even though you're just a stranger, tas you visit someone's house, then you're offering them food. Kahit friends ka lang ng friends mo, or maybe you're just a stranger, nag-offer sila ng foods, and sometimes like variety of foods, maybe kape, kanin, sometimes like different kinds of foods talaga. Even how difficult life is talaga na they will find solutions para lang maka-offer sila ng food. And this actually influence how I see the world kasi it reminds me the importance of, kindness and generosity. Tapos na kahit you're just offering a single candy, then parang it really means a lot for someone na.
What are some of your favorite traditions or costumes? How do these things influence you and how you see the world?
My favorite costume, like tradition pala is seeking knowledge sa like kapangali in madrasa. So through that na-influence ako by through that marami akong bagay na natututunan, just like yung mga haram things, yung mga hindi pwedeng gawin as a woman, and of course in Islam, di ba, may mga things na pwedeng gawin and also hindi rin dapat gawin.
The third question is, what are some of your favorite traditions or costumes? How do these things influence how you see the world?
So like for me, I think it's okay because it adds up to my amazement on art.
Okay, thank you.
Here for question. What do you do to relax or unwind when you're feeling stressed? Can you give me an example?
There's only one thing that will make me feel unstressed. Watching animes, movies. Kahit anong iniisip ko, anong problema ko, kapag nakapanood na ko na, it's game over. Wala na akong maiisip na iba. Kaya watching movies and animes is really one thing that will help me unstressed.
Fourth question is, what do you do to relax or unwind when you're feeling stressed? And give me an example.
To unwind my stress is naghahanap ako ng lugar na yung utak ko is mahanap niya peace of mind. And if like sa golf, if hindi yung gagana, yung cause ng stress ko is gagawin ko yun. Like academic stress. Yung may mga assignment ka. So, hindi mawawala yung sa isip ko kapag hindi natapos. So, gagawin ko na lang if hindi effective yung pagpunta ko sa mga golf or yung my peace of mind.
Thank you. Number 4. What do you do to relax or unwind when you're feeling stressed? Can you give me an example?
So this is the most my favorite thing na is mag-unwind. Minsan pag may free time with family is pumupunta kami sa sa mga seaside, appreciating the sea, and minsan yung mga appreciating the nature, mga ganun.
Number 4 is, what do you do to relax or unwind when you're feeling stressed? Give me an example.
So, what I do when I'm feeling stressed is I go with tawag dito, sightseeing, or I love to be in the beach, or I love to watch sunsets.
Okay, thank you.
Fourth question. What do you do to relax or unwind when you're feeling stressed? Can you give me an example?
Paiba-iba ako ng ginagawa eh. But, I can say na I'm a stress eater. Like, pag grabe na talaga yung problema ko, especially pag academic involved na yung ACADS, na hindi ko na mamalayan, nakain ako ng kain. But then, most of the time is wala, kulang ako, nag-isip, and nagpo-pray na, I talk to God na sana I can overcome whatever challenges I am currently facing right now.
Okay, so parang yung stress reliever mo is more of pagkain.
One is, what do you do to relax or unwind when you're feeling stressed? And then give me an example.
Example pa din. When I feel stressed, I actually watch movies or K-dramas or certain videos sa YouTube, or maybe just random videos. Sometimes binge watching talaga. But most of the time, eating a lot. Like, whenever I get home from school, syempre stress ka galing school, diretso ako kakain. It's either inom ako ng kape or kakain ng dinner agad, advance. Yun yung it's a way of me, of coping up the stress. And food has always been a relief for me talaga.
Number 4. What do you do to relax or unwind when you're feeling stressed? Can you give me an example?
Example for that is, yung sinabi ko kanina, reading books. Hanging out with my friends.
Okay, so last number. What are some things you're working towards right now and how do you plan to achieve them?
As for now, go with the flows na lang. And in the future, ang plan ko talaga is to explore more ideas. And yun lang.
Number 1 is, what do you do to relax or unwind when you're feeling stressed? And then give me an example.
So whenever I feel stressed, I would pretty much prefer stay up in my bed and read stories, listening to music, so that it somehow makes me feel relaxed.
Okay?
Your last question. What are some things you're working towards right now and how do you plan to achieve them?
Ang pinaka-goal ko right now is to overcome my habit na procrastination. Kasi talagang yan yung number 1 na gusto kong i-overcome. Pero ngayon pa na feel ko na hindi pa kaya. Pero slowly na, ang ginagawa ko na lang para ma-overcome yung procrastination na I break into chunks yung may requirements ako na this day gagawin ko na ito specific. Then tomorrow ito para at least ma-overcome ko yung procrastination.
Okay, so thank you for your wonderful answers, Ms. Ayaon.
Thank you.
The last question is, what are some things you're working towards right now? And how do you plan to achieve them?
So, I am working some things right now is my plan is makapagtapos and makakuha ng trabaho. And how do I plan to achieve din is mag-aaral ako ng mabuti and ibibigay ko lahat yung kaya ko.
Thank you so much, Miss Rai.
Last question, what are some things you're working towards right now and how do you plan to achieve them?
Of course, may plano ko talaga is makagraduate ng with Latin honor or kahit walang Latin honor, at least maganda pa rin yung grades ko. And I'm also planning that after I graduate is magre-review for the board exam.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Pinar, for your wonderful answers.
Question is, what are some things you're working towards right now and how do you plan to achieve them?
The things that I'm planning to do, right? I'm planning to achieve right now is to have a consistent passing grades. And then what I'm doing to achieve them is to do my duties as a student.
Okay, thanks.
So this is the last question. What are some things you're working towards right now and how do you plan to achieve them?
Okay, so something I am working towards right now is I think preparing myself for my future. Ngayon sabi nila na do something right now that your future self will be proud of you. So gusto kong paghandaan yung future ko in a way na kumbaga na I do things where it can boost my skills or makagain ng mga new knowledge or skills na align sa program na tinatahak ko ngayon, na kumbaga na pwede mo siyang idagdag as an asset when you're looking for a job in the future.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Asmina, for giving us interview.
Last question is, what are some things you're working towards right now and how do you plan to achieve them?
I'm working on myself, both mentally and physically. If in terms of emotion, I want to be emotionally stable. Want to be emotionally stable. I want to improve my sleeping habits. Yun na rin, physically healthier. Yun yung wrong grammar. And siguro yun lang. Both to be physically and mentally stable.
Last number, what are some things you're working towards right now and how do you plan to achieve them?
As for now, go with the flows na lang. And in the future, ang plan ko talaga is to explore more ideas. And yun lang.
So thank you for your wonderful answers.
The last question is, what are some things you're working towards right now and how do you plan to achieve them?
So my goal right now is to graduate, and to achieve them is to study hard and do my best.
Thank you.